Welcome to the Wednesdays with Willa show. I am your host, Willa White, and this is my weekly podcast show that airs on Wednesday mornings at 10 a.m. Eastern on my Facebook page, Willa White Medium. Also goes out on my YouTube channel as well as the Lilydale Assembly Facebook page. This is year 8 of episodes of Wednesdays with Willa. I've had lots of great guests on the show to talk about spiritualism, mediumship, healing, faith, family, and more. And it's always a special delight to have wonderful guests that come from all over the country and the world to Lilydale. And I'll be featuring one of our summer season highlights on the show today. And we're going to be introducing you to the Crystal Skull, a very famous Mitchell-Hedges Crystal Skull. And it's really a fascinating legend, as it were, but we get to meet the legend here online on the show. And then if you come in person to Lilydale, you'll have the added delight of being personally in the presence. Now, what I think is so fascinating about our guest today is that he's spent a lot of years with this famous crystal skull. And we did talk about the crystal skull some months ago with Bill's wife, Catherine Lanigan. So I would refer you back to that episode as well when we talked about angelic intervention in human life. She's a wonderful author of The Jewel of the Nile and Romance of the Stone. People may have heard of those because they were movies, but also wonderful angel books and many other books. But today we're having her husband, Bill Homann, on, who is famously connected with the Mitchell-Hedges Crystal Skull. He's here today to talk about its history and its purpose today in modern times and what we can do to benefit from being in the presence of the crystal skull, meditating with the crystal skull, and what you can do when you come to Lilydale and be in the presence of it. So we've got a great show ahead for you. I know that Bill's excited to share a meditation later on in the show, so stay tuned for that, about 10-minute meditation that is specially geared to guide you in energetic connection with the crystal skull and to also help you to be preparing your own energy for advancing your own spiritual exploration, because that's a big part of connection with the crystal skull. So please welcome on the show today, Bill Homann. Thanks for being here on the show today, Bill.
Well, thank you for having me here, and I'm looking forward to the show. So it should be interesting, but a lot of fun too. So glad to be here.
Yes. Well, we're excited for you to be here this summer. I just want to let people know that if you're interested in connecting with Bill and the Crystal Skull, then you're going to want to be here this summer. Bill is scheduled to be here at the end of June, just after the opening of the summer season. We officially open on June 20th, and it's a 10-week summer season. And we have got wonderful daily events, message events, and workshops, and people come from all over the world to enjoy Lilydale. Many times we'll get 20 or 30,000 people over the course of those 10 weeks. So there's something to do every minute of the day. And if you can make time in your schedule to be here when the Crystal Skull is here, it'll be June 27th, 28th, and 29th. And Bill will be presenting about the history of the Mitchell-Hedges Crystal Skull and also its power. And I just want to let everybody know that all of the personal connections with the Crystal Skull in person here in Lilydale are already sold out. They've been sold out for some months. And so just know that's not an opportunity for you, but we'll talk later on in the show if people are wanting to do things online with it. But I know I want to get us started off with Bill and your journey. I was looking at your bio, and you had served in the military and have been down south of the border, shall we say, and in Panama, correct?
Correct. Yes.
Yeah.
That's where I got interested in the crystal skull and found out information about it that kind of started my quest of continuous learning and growth through that. Yes.
And that was in 1970s. Time?
1969, yeah,
1969. Okay.
yeah.
So,
The good old days.
so at that point, you started uh, researching or getting to know that aspect of the Crystal Skull's history. And it's my understanding that the Crystal Skull was found in Belize. Is that correct?
It was, yeah, at the time it was British Honduras. It
Hmm.
was found in 1924 by the British explorer F.A. Mitchell-Hedges, who was looking for a connection between Atlantis and the Maya. And he felt that he would be able to find something in one of these ancient ruins. And he located a site which is now called Lubaantun, Place of the Falling Stones in Belize, and he excavated it and found there were 7 pyramids, a ball court, spiritual centers, and it was covered up for over 1,000 years when he was down there opening it up. And so the history of the skull is, everybody has, they say this or that, but I've worked with the Mayan elders whose grandfather was on the dig when they found the skull, and he was able to tell me exactly because they did take down the pyramid where the skull was found. They took it all the way down to the ground,
Hmm.
but but he was able to explain what happened and how the people reacted and all different things. So it's quite an interesting, it's a very interesting story. There's always a twist and a turn and an adventure around the skull, and I've kind of learned in my life to, instead of just expecting, I just go by reacting to what happens because it takes you in all different places and turns, and it's uh it's never boring.
Yes, especially when you are the caretaker of a mystical artifact, such as
Yeah,
the Crystal Skull. And just to orient people further, where we're talking about is south of Yucatan, if people understand about Mexico and further on down. And then there's this little kind of jutting up tip of things. And that's where this would have been located in one of the Mayan ruins. And
right.
it's Mitchell-Hedges, he was an explorer, kind of a fantastical gentleman who would had radio programs and wrote books and things like that about his adventures.
Yeah, he also worked for the British Secret Service, and he was down there in that area at the same time that the Nazis were going through the area looking for these powerful artifacts.
Mm.
And so that was, that puts a little bit different, even a different twist. A kind of an interesting story. Going through some old papers, I found a letter from the head of the naval intelligence to Mitchell-Hedges, and it was just a really, they're talking about oil and this and that. It didn't make much sense. It was more of a coded letter, but at the bottom of it, whoever uh, makes the letter or types the letter has to put their initials at the bottom. And so going over and looking at the initials is a gentleman that knows a lot about that type of thing. His name was Ian Fleming. That
Oh,
is that
oh,
crazy?
James Bond fame. Yeah.
Yeah. And guess my two favorite people are James Bond and Indiana Jones.
Indiana Jones.
So I also have a strong connection with the Indiana Jones thing too. So that's
Yeah,
it all kind of ties together. So
yeah.
I believe in doing this. You got to have fun. And the skull, what it does is it's here at a time when the world needs help, and it's here to bring peace and joy and love, this universal love that the world is searching for, because it's the factor that connects all of us together.
Mhm.
And it's a really good thing at a time with all the strife and different things in the world to bring a peace in your heart and peace in your mind. And so I have a lot of joy with that. I have joy. The fact is, the skull, when I meet people one on one of the things it does is it connects with a person's inner self, and it opens up. There are different gifts and abilities in this life or past lives. Because so many times, people are there in their childhood or different times in their life, they come out with, they see this special friend that's not really on this planet, but they're seeing him or whatever, and they're told and made fun of and everything like that, and they close these different gifts off. And these are your God gifts, and this is what you have acquired over lifetimes, even. And so by opening up that with the skull opens up those channels, it changes lives. And it's a neat joy to have, is to be able to go and change lives and make differences in people. And we were at Lilydale last time. We met a good group or large group of people that connected very strongly with Skull and made heavy differences in their lives, which is really a beautiful thing. So if you can find what you love and you can do it and do it, that's a real joy in life. So I'm just having fun.
Beautiful. I'm glad it's been such a joyful mission for you. And I can feel that it's something that you personally have connected with deeply yourself. I'm wondering, when Mitchell-Hedges was locating the crystal skull, because it was actually his adopted daughter that
Anna, yes.
Anna that is, at least is my understanding of the story, is that she found it. Is this something that she was just kind of poking around in the place and she just
Well, what
happened
it
to
was,
uncover, or did she feel magnetically drawn to that location?
yeah, she had a very magical life, and all the way from being like 7 years old, she had experiences that major changing things, and all the way to towards the end of her life, So that was her magical life that she had, and so the
So was she
skull.
adopted at the age of 7?
It
Is
was
that
about I think it was more like 11.
11? Okay.
Yeah, but he was, yeah.
So
So
he and his wife adopted her in Canada, I believe.
well,
Is
yeah, because what it is she was in her family, and there was like 11 children,
hmm
and the father passed away because he was had things from the war. He got gassed, and he did not last too long. And then the mother uh, passed away, and with all these children, they would send them to a lot of the family members, and I guess Sammy was left. So but it was a blessing for Mitchell-Hedges, because it was like his luck charm. She was his
Mm.
lucky charm, because since he was around her, so many things were brought into her, into his life, and everything from the crystal skull to the Black Virgin of Kazam, this ancient painting that was uh, the Russian icon that's really most famous one they have, was part of his collection at one time.
Mm-hmm.
So it, but you hear this and that, but it's, if you look at what's been happened to me in the last so many years, it keeps life very interesting, and it's never boring, like I say. So yeah.
Yeah. And but in terms of this crystal skull and this location, it was locked away in a Mayan ruin for over 1,000 years and hidden from interaction with humans, shall we say. And then when it's discovered, and did Anna ever
1920.
describe that moment to you, like what it
Sure.
felt
Yeah.
like to? Can you share
Well,
with us what that moment was like for her?
sure. There were seven pyramids, and the tallest one, uh, the men said that if you went to the top of it, you could see all the way to the ocean. And
Mm-hmm.
she's thought that would be really neat, but she was told never to go on it because it was dangerous. The rocks would move, there's snakes. But she took a few of the Mayan kids, and during the day they always took a siesta around noon when it was really hot.
Yeah.
And she took the kids and they snuck to the top, looking to see the ocean. And it was a cloudy day, but the sun it came through the clouds and it went through the rock, and there was a big bright light inside because the way the rocks were and the way the sun hit. So she ran down because she always wants to be helping her dad, and she told him what happened, and she was in big trouble. And and thought that not much more of it. But the next day when she got up, all the men were out there and they were starting to unmove the rocks and make a way in. And when they did that, the rock it started to collapse on them because they were going too fast. So they ended up going one rock at a time,
Mm.
and they finally got a hole big enough for a small person. That was like took them like 3 weeks to get that little hole. And Anna was chosen because she was thin, and she was 16 years old at the time when that she found it or saw the light down there. And she was 17 years old. It was her birthday, and they lowered her into this pyramid that hadn't been opened for 1,000 years. And there could be snakes, there could be anything in the darkness of this pyramid as you're going in. And she felt around and she found something. She stuck it in her shirt and she pulled on the rope and they pulled her back out. And when she opened it up and the natives saw the crystal skull, it's like their God had returned. And it was like they kissed the earth and everything. So it was a very powerful time for Mitchell-Hedges and for all
So
the
she
natives.
had that in her shirt.
She picked it up and put it in the shirt like this to hold it. And then
Uh-huh.
they pulled her up. Yep.
And so she was just feeling around in the dark and found it?
Well, she had a light. She had like a
Okay.
flashlight, and she could, she saw something, but she didn't know what it was really,
So she
because
probably saw the glint off of
yeah, right.
that. Right. Right.
Yeah, yeah,
So then when they get it out, did they open it up right away in the
yeah, and the
sunshine?
sun hit it. Yeah, and that was when it came after 1,000 years. It was brought out into the sunlight. Yeah,
Hmm.
it was. There was a an altar, and there was rocks that fell on the altar, and it hit just like this. And if it wouldn't have hit like this, it would have crushed the skull. So it was just stopped right like that, protecting
Hmm.
it.
Hmm.
So yeah, that was kind of amazing. But I've seen a lot of amazing things being around the skull.
So as soon as they have it, then the natives are like, "Oh my gosh!" They'd heard legends about this crystal skull
They knew
before.
that, yeah, that was a passed down legend about their ancient god. Yes.
Hmm. And so then at that point, did Anna or her father, Mitchell-Hedges, start to notice anything about this crystal skull other than that, oh, it's pretty, oh, it's crystal, like, oh, they say this is part of the about the god. Did they start to notice energetically any shifts or changes?
Well, they call it a communicator with the gods, is what the natives call it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the legend is there's 13 total crystal skulls that were at the time of Atlantis taken to different parts of the earth,
Mm-hmm.
and some of them have been buried under the sea. Some of them are buried in land. There's one in Hawaii. They're all over, and even off planet. There's one in Mars. They say right now. So it's no, it's just the legend. But the thing is, the skulls are connected uh, with a way of communication because they're communicating devices, and they were
Mm-hmm.
used by the ancient uh, shamans to communicate with the other skulls in different parts of the world,
Mm-hmm.
and so they could uh, be able to, find out different things from different places, and that's a kind of an interesting thing
So
about
this
it.
mystical artifact that they found is really a communication device, is what
Yeah,
you're saying.
well, that's one of the things that it does. Yeah, I've been working with it, and I found the things that I find works really good. It works really good with working with ley lines and energy to
Mhm.
restore and repair different energy lines on the earth.
Mhm.
And I learned that one of the first things I did is after I was caretaker of the skull is I was invited over to go to Australia. And
Mhm.
when I got there, the Australian Aborigines were waiting for me because they had told people years and years before that I was coming, and they needed me to take the skull to a certain location. And so, okay, I'm ready for the adventure. So I did. And it was out by an ancient caldera, a
Mhm.
volcano And they said, put it here. So I put it there, and they did a little ceremony. And then after about 20 minutes, they said, okay. And I was able to just take it, and I left, and they thanked me. And what they did is they restored the energy line that went from there under the sea all the way to Machu Picchu that had been blocked for hundreds and hundreds of years. So in seeing that, that's helped me to understand why I now have taken it various parts of the world and worked with these energy centers. And I don't really have to do much when I do it. I'm the carrier of the skull. So I I meant just being able to put it on a certain place and then let the energies work out. It does its own thing.
Hmm.
But it's important because with these blocked energies, we're not getting the full power of the earth to really make things happen the way they used to. So
So is that on an electromagnetic level? Would you say that that is, or is there some other
I think
energy?
it's, yeah, I think, there's like a crystalline grid
Mm,
throughout all of the earth. And it connects to some of the different energies like that. There's energies at the different pyramids. There's energies at these different crystal ball sites that have been buried in different parts of the earth and how they connect. And
mhm,
so it, uh, in doing that, it helps restore and rebalance these energies.
mhm,
Now, a little side story: last year, I was in the Great Pyramid, and before I even went there, I was told that you go in the chamber, and on the one side there's like a key, and the key was important. And so when I was in there, and we're working with the sound and the frequency, and we able to open up an energy port that went from the Great Pyramid, King's Chamber, to the Queen's Chamber.
mhm,
And the significance of that was that the male energy and the female energy, that because of Lemuria and Atlantis had been disrupted, by
mhm,
doing this, it brought the energies and balanced them out, that released something that had been on the earth for thousands of years in a negative way, bringing that balance, bringing back to the female the priestess and the princess, and bringing that energy through. And so, you do it and you think, wow, that's neat, but it's it's quite interesting how the different places you end up and what you do.
and so geographically, you've noticed that the crystal skull is the same, is able to hold its power no matter where you take it, and also be part of the fix, as it were, energetically on the planetary in sacred sites, and
Well,
even places that would be considered energy vortexes and vortices.
yeah.
Uh, yes.
Well, there's different ones that have stronger connections than others,
Hmm.
but if you just, I don't try to judge it. I just react to it. So I say, okay, you're supposed to go here, so I end up going there.
Do you
And
ever hold the skull and it energetically wants you to go in a certain direction? Does it ever
oh,
act in a
all the time.
dowsing kind of way that it
Yeah.
says, now go over here, now go over here? And it's locating the energetic lines because it's my understanding when it comes to ley lines that yes, they can shift. And some
Mhm.
people may say, well, this is where it is. Has the crystal skull ever corrected that and said, no, it's actually over here?
Yeah. See, with that, I don't try to make judgments on where it is. I just follow where it tells me to go, and I
Versus what
trust.
the humans tell you is what
Yeah,
I'm saying. Is the
I
humans say
trust.
here, but
Yeah, I just trust what I'm getting
mhm.
downloading to me. So I go with that feeling, and it seems like it's always taken me the right place. So I trust that for sure.
So in working with the skull, did Anna work with the skull at all the way that you or are you when you
Well,
took this on and became the caretaker, you were working in this kind of world energy connection way, or did she start that?
well, yeah. She worked with energy and stuff also,
Mm-hmm.
but it's because it's an evolution.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Her job was to do this. Then she passed it to me. She found it on January 1st, 1924, which her 17th birthday.
Mm-hmm.
She passed it to me on April 11th, 2007, my
Mm-hmm.
birthday. So how that happened, I don't know, but there's always these little connections that way. The
Yeah.
skull cannot be sold, it can only be gifted. And it's gifted like who gets the skull? Well, you know what? It'll tell me. I don't have to be sitting here worried about it. No, I would like one of my goals right now is to be able to make a center for the skull. I would like the center for the skull to be there where people could come and meditate and uh, be able to share. People of gifts that have different gifts. Some people are maybe acupuncture, maybe different meditations and stuff like that. But it would be a place where people could come together and and share that. Be able to the skull could be safe and be kept there for the future. That's what I'm looking for now.
I think that's an admirable goal. I'm wondering, did the skull ever tell you why it was placed in the Mayan temple, where it was inaccessible to others to be utilized for 1,000 years? Did it ever tell you why? Because
Okay.
I imagine that based
Yeah.
on what you've been saying, um, that maybe there's a reason that it was
Well, it's
ignored.
it's all in timing of the
Okay.
earth
Mm-hmm.
and what we as humans are going through, and as we're coming now to a possibility of coming into a evolution, growing into this more spiritual being that that who we really are is starting to come out. And so the energy of the skull, maybe 200 years ago, wouldn't have been able to uh, bring this energy through. But with all the lineup of planets, all the lineup of different astrological, etc., things are right now to be able to kind of grow into our galactic family. And
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of where it's all going to, and where it's at is, not everyone's going to ascend, but it's the ascension is just a frequency change into a finer body. So we'll be able to, we are more than our physical body. We have all these gifts that a lot of us don't use, or many of us don't use, or right now probably not too many at all use. But as we are evolving and becoming, it's happening so fast right now that there's a good chance that we may see it in the near future, where we come into this greater consciousness and higher gifts and abilities, because we have the gifts and abilities. We have it if we remember who and what we are, and that's what the skull's about. It helps people connect to their past, their ancient self, and that's the one of the beauties of it.
Have you ever taken the skull back to its found location?
I would like to do that, and I probably will. I talked to the one of the main shamans down there all the time,
Mm-hmm.
and what I would like to do with the center is I would want him to be a part of it, so he could, because he has all this knowledge of the Mayan, and it's happening all over. I was adopted into the Hopi nation by uh, the granddaughter or the daughter of the Hopi medicine man and Hopi prophet, grandfather Martin. And so with that, they have that type of energy, and so uh, each one has these special gifts. But he passed, and he did not train anybody in the way, and he didn't do it because the people of today are not interested in that. They're interested more into the physical world, And so that happens not just with the Hopis, but it's happening with all these indigenous, or a
Yes.
lot of them. And it'd be really good if we could get the Hopis to document their knowledge and make it so it'll last forever instead of losing it completely. So
Mhm.
that's one of the things I'd like to do. And it'd be a
But
beautiful thing to see.
but it wouldn't be necessarily about trying to go back into the Mayan community and accessing that kind of old Mayan understanding of things. If you feel that the skull has moved on in its purpose on a more world level, and it's likely to probably just um, stay in America and travel occasionally to other sacred sites that
Yeah.
are in need, or say they're in need of energetic correction. Is that right?
That covers a lot. Yeah, that would be some of the things, because what I've learned is it's not necessary for me to take the skull all over. At one time, I
Mm.
traveled all over the world, taking the skull and you know going to shows and being able to give lectures and stuff all over. But now I've come to understand that the skull is able to be anywhere and communicate directly with these different areas without having to be there physically. And I also found that the people say, I wanted to, oh, you feel like you're my soapbox. And I get up there and because I'm happy and I want to make everybody else happy, But the thing is that it's not everyone's interested, but the ones that are drawn to it with their hearts. It really brings it to them. There was people back in the 70s when the skull was first shown to the public. It was
Mm.
on Arthur C. Clarke, and it was at the
Mm.
start of the Arthur C. Clarke, and you could see the skull turning around, turning around. But that went in the subconscious like seeds.
Mm.
And since that time, there was hardly any crystal skulls around. And now, if you would count them, there'd be, close to several billion of them. They're all over now. And it's because of that. And the skulls work together. So the energy of the skull, if people have a skull, I always say bring it because it's a connection that work. It's not that it downloads all the knowledge, but what it does is it gives universal love and peace. And
Mm.
that is really a powerful thing right now because that is what's bringing humanity together is that strong universal love.
So when Anna found it, up until the 70s, when it first went into public display, as it were, as you said, then through that, was Anna working with the skull on a private basis regularly?
Oh, well, it is I have books of visitors and people came from all over the world
Okay.
to see the skull. And she would bring people into her house, and her secretary, Cynthia, was would make their tea and cookies and everything, and she'd have them come in, and the skull would be sitting on the table right there, and everybody would come and visit it. So that was quite interesting. That's pretty much how I was able to visit the first time. Is
Okay.
I found out about it. I was drawn to it very strong from my experiences when I was in Panama, and so it's like, if you got that drawing to it, there's usually a very strong reason for that. And so many times people have never even heard of a crystal skull. And I'm going to do a lecture at Lilydale, and there'll be somebody who'll come in the crowd and say, well, I just saw this on the news, or I just saw this flyer, and
Yeah.
I have to be here. And so
Yeah.
those are the people. And it's a beautiful thing because the skull never forgets.
Mm.
It remembers the people. And so when they come to see it for the first time, they may not realize how much the skull is calling them because they have me, the skull has me bring them there, and then it is bringing people too to see it. So it's really it's exciting, neat thing. It really is. And
And for people to understand this, has the skull been analyzed in any way, or examined by like scientists to see
well,
what they would
the
say?
only true test that was ever done was done in 1970 by Hewlett Packard.
Mm,
Okay. And they tested it, and because it's made against the grain, which is impossible. It has
hmm.
lenses and prisms built inside the piezoelectric quartz that
Okay.
directs the uh, light beams through it certain ways. You put a light underneath it, and
Hmm.
90 degrees it shoots it out the eyes. So there's very strong optical qualities, but to create a crystal and grow it in perfect symmetry, and also being able to make it so it works that way, it would take zero gravity of the knowledge we have today, because they're making crystals on the space lab because they can do it in zero gravity. They can't do it on Earth. So, with the things like that, did the Mayas make it? Well, they said they could do it in 300 years, hand rubbing it with sand, hot sand and herbs. Well, if you really did that, there's a possibility you could do that. But uh, the skull is formed by light
Mm,
energy, and it is formed with the heart and the mind of these master beings that have the ability to direct their minds and create with light and energy whatever they are choosing. And that's, I've worked with so many different uh, the masters and teachers, some of the top people in the world, and they come to that conclusion that it's not something that to be taken lightly, where it came from and stuff. So at
so
this
that was the
time,
only time it was analyzed then.
well, that it was taken to. Now, I'm going to do a whole video on this, because I have to. I have all the information to debunk a lot of the stuff, because it was done by the people that uh, have a doctrine that they don't want anything that does not fit into their uh, belief system. So if it doesn't fit, they want to take it and hide it away in their basement, in their storage, or they want to do this or that, and they have done that. But the skull was in private hands, and so they couldn't do that. And so it's very interesting how far and what they do to. They've spent millions of dollars trying to really understand the skull, but
Mm. When you
uh,
say they spent millions of dollars, are you talking about people who investigate the skull, this
well,
particular skull that's
what they did in doing movies and shows and stuff like that. They've done that
oh,
over the years. So
hmm.
there's a it's a mystery, and when you look at how it was made and who made it, it has element 77 that's very prominent, which is iridium. And
Hmm.
a lot of iridium comes from impact from space coming in without so that's one way they get iridium here. And iridium, there's three types, and the most uh, kind that's most unusual is the kind that's in the crystal skull. So how was it made? Who made it? There's more mystery to it than there is fact.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
And
I'm gonna, just because it's time for me to come out and bring a lot of that paperwork and knowledge and truth that I have into the world, so they'll really be able to see what it's all about. But the fact is, it couldn't be reduplicated today. And if they say, "Oh, it was made," somebody told me that, oh, in 1890 they made it with the sewing machine, because it had a rotary wheel, and they used that for carving the skull. Okay, right. Okay. So there's all kind of different things, and nobody knows who made it, how it was made, but the people that are open to spiritual energy can feel it, and that's the real thing. As a matter of fact, there's probably a number of people that'll be watching this that'll be getting it in their heart and their third eye, because that there's a lot of energy from the skull that goes surprisingly right on through the media of video.
Hmm. So I was just thinking when you were describing about putting the light through the back 90 degrees and goes out the eyes,
It
um,
comes out from the bottom. There's the
comes out to the
90,
bottom.
yeah,
Okay.
it comes from the bottom up and then it shoots 90 degrees out the eyes.
Oh,
It's
so there's
so,
a light underneath the skull.
if you put a light under the
Okay.
skull,
Okay.
they're
And then it'll shoot it out the eyes.
yeah, because of the 90-degree angle, there's that 90-degree angle
Okay.
brings it and out. So, it could be that the old Mayans had it in a cave and they had it on a rock and there was a fire underneath and the rock in the way, so it wouldn't show. And all of a sudden, they're all there having the ceremonies, and all of a sudden you move it, and all of a sudden the skull's eyes light up. I think that would probably they do whatever the
It's a
high
little bit
priest
of a
told them.
showmanship piece to it. But do you think
Well, I'm
this?
just saying how they could use that 90-degree turn. But the 90-degree turn, working with Dremel Melchizedek, the
Yes.
Dremel, the 90-degree turn is how it takes you. And that's why I like to do meditations, because
Mhm.
it takes you very easily from third dimension to fifth dimension. So you
Mhm.
go very deep and very fast with the skull.
So, have you ever put the light so that it shines out of the eyes? And do you feel that there are some healing factors to having the light go through the skull?
Not for healing, no.
Okay.
Okay, the skull, why was it made in the shape of a skull? And the reason they did that is for two reasons: is either something that was loved very much or something was feared. And that way it would be protected through the generations. It was just a, a piece of clay over here. They might save it, they may not, but when they see all the workmanship and the love that went into the skull, it's where it's very important piece. You can just feel it. It's so, and there's also the new technology they've just come out with is where you can take crystal and store uh, information on crystal inside of it, and it will last forever. So they would use the crystal skull, piezoelectric quartz, just like the computer chips, and store all this knowledge. The knowledge of the universe is stored inside the crystal skull, is told. So we
Mhm.
just are coming to the time now that we can bring this knowledge out with technology. But right now we use people that are uh, impasses that are able to uh, bring that through their
Through
meditation stuff.
through
Yeah,
intuitives. I would
right.
be fascinated just from a science perspective. I just was reading an article in terms of quantum mechanics and quantum physics. They've just figured out a way to make light in a solid form,
That's
and
what you're looking at, light in a
that
solid form.
this
Yeah.
is would be light in a solid form. So I would be really fascinated to have somebody with that understanding of quantum physics take a look at your skull and see if they can really bring in some of those scientific and merge it
That
with
would be really,
the
that'd be,
intuition.
yeah, I'm
Yeah,
always interested in learning and learning
yeah.
new things. Yeah, the skull, sometimes it's sitting and it lights up the room, for no
Mm.
reason. So there's been a lot of really strange things with light around the skull. I had it at
Beach.
the beach out in California, and
Hmm.
this young lady was playing the bowls, and the skull
Oh,
the frequency of the bowls really
oh,
resonates
yes.
with the skull. And so as she was playing it, and I have it on video, the skull lights up with this beautiful colors. All the
Oh.
colors were just unbelievable, and you could just see the skull was smiling. so so
Yeah.
it's got a sense of humor. Uh,
Yes.
yeah, there's like uh, one of the first times Kath was around it. it was we had it in the kitchen and having breakfast, and he said, "I'll have pancakes." That's what he came out with.
Can't
So
eat pancakes.
he can't. Yeah. Well, another thing is, yeah, he said that he's worrying about getting somebody. We needed a comb for me, and
Huh?
the skull said, "I don't need one."
There you go. You can-
So you gotta love the humor. We gotta have humor. So you get that for sure.
So I just want to help people, our viewers, understand a little bit more about how you work with the Crystal Skull today. You do visit places like Willa, and you also do private consultations with the skull. And what are some of, just if you could pick out maybe two stories, two or three at the most stories, that you feel were really significant in helping people, something that people can understand a little bit more about how this crystal skull has helped others.
Okay. Well, let's see. Story of this one lady was a friend of Sammy's, and she had a really bad toothache. And
Now, is
Sammy
I
said,
don't mean to interrupt, but is Sammy also Anna? Like,
"Yeah, okay,
is that
yeah,
the nickname for Anna? Is that?
yeah." What? That's a nickname because of it's it's Silly Sam is what it is. She was
Oh,
uh she was down in she always liked to go to down to the ocean, and she's always looking for shells and stuff. And she was down there with a little Mayan boy that was watching her, keeping her out of trouble, and she stepped on something and she was in great pain. And he said, "Turn your head, Mitzi." So she turned her head and felt something warm, but the pain went away. And so then when she went back and told her father, because if you step on a sea urchin, do you
yeah.
know how to get rid of the pain?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And so when she told her father, everybody on the expedition always had a nickname, and she got the name Silly Sam. So she was Sammy.
Got
And
it.
being around her all the time, I always called her Sammy.
Okay, then please carry on with the story. I just thought I'd make
Okay.
sure.
So what it was is so the lady came over to the house and showed her the skull and everything. And Sammy said, "Don't worry, the skull will help you." And no, Sammy, you can't say that. She needs a dentist. And no, Sammy said, "No, don't worry about it. The skull will help you." And so she goes home, and the next day she calls and she says, and Sammy asked her, "How's your tooth?" And she said, "It fell out and I feel perfect now." So she wasn't expecting that. She thought she had to go to the dentist, but just the tooth just fell out. And when that happened, it relieved all the pain. So that's kind of a one with the interesting thing. Another thing, we had a whole bunch of people here, and one of the guys drove his wife here, and he had no idea what the skull was and everything, and he didn't really have time for it. He was just kind of there with his wife. And so we started working with it, and he came in the room, and he had a back that was operated on and that had been pinched for at least 10 years, and he's been in pain for 10 years. And so uh, after we were done and everything, we went to leave, and he told his wife that in the first time in 10 years, the pain is gone. So does it heal? You never know. And I don't say it does, and I don't tell it, "Oh, you heal this person," but just I just bring out the possibility. And a lot of people have had babies because they wanted them, and they came around the skull and they must have asked for it or something. So I don't I have a lot of letters, that are in the records of all these different people and all the different miracles and stuff that have happened. So I uh, I live it, I do it, but I don't really write it down. I just go with the flow. And somebody tells me, "Oh, that's good," and then there's been some really, because what we do now is we work together on it, and I'm very good at working with blockages in different bodies of the person, and opening up this blockage opens up the energy that it's like a river's flowing, and there's a big rock stuck right in the middle of it, and all the water's all messed up. When you
Mhm.
take the rock out, then it starts flowing again. So kind of what I work with. And Kath gets at least 2 or 3 lives that come, the skull drops to her that are pertinent to this life,
Mhm.
that through hearing it, it's like releasing the energy of moving the rock, and the flow is coming along. So we've had very, very good luck with a lot of that. It's been beautiful.
Yeah, so you're
So
tag teaming with Catherine to do
yeah,
sessions
that's
with
when we
people.
go to Lilydale and we're there. We work together on it. Yeah, we do. So she kind of sits back and see what the skull has to say, and then she's able to bring it out. She doesn't like to, like right now, I think she could probably do it for you, but she doesn't like to do it when there's other people, because you never know what comes through. It may be kind of something you wouldn't want to tell everybody. It's your personal, private information. So
Yeah, I think that that is the purpose of a private session with people. It's because some very personal things are happening
yeah,
within an individual's life, and I'm glad that you understand that you have to honor that, and so you do your private consultations for people who need it on a more personal level. Because there, in a group, there's that the what I call the group effect
right.
that you
And then,
have to be
somebody
aware of.
knows something and you don't, it's a personal thing. It's between you and the skull.
Right.
And we had one lady that had different physical problems, but what it was is she was uh, put inside a window and bricked into the window back in the 16th century.
Mhm.
And that's how she passed. She was bricked into the window, but it made some other things because the people around her were uh, they were taking her her stuff away from her inheritance, and
Inheritance.
by doing that. So yeah,
Wow.
it happens. You just you don't know what's going to come out of it, but it's usually uh, amazing, because
Yeah.
I'm amazed myself.
Well, I think this would be a great time for people to experience the meditation that we mentioned. This would be probably a great time then, so
Okay.
people can have their
Yeah.
own personal experience with the crystal skull. I know
Oh,
you're
I'd
going to
love that.
guide us through, so we'll listen to
Sure.
your voice and enjoy that.
Okay, that would be great. So yeah, the skull does, like I said, it's got that 90-degree turn, and it really takes you up quickly and easily. So what I want you to do is just get yourself in a comfortable position. Just take some slow, deep breaths. Just let yourself relax. And every time you breathe out, just feel all the stress leaving your body, all the stress. And then let the joy, the skull's right here with us, and it's sending joy to you, joy and love. Feel it. And as we just let yourself relax, put your mind on your third eye, and just look up into the heavens with your third eye, high in the heavens, and you'll see this beautiful golden light coming down from the Creator. You see it come down, come down. It's going right through your crown, right through your body, right through the top of the skull, right through the skull into the earth below you, and deep into the earth, deep into the earth through your body, deeper and down, down into the heart of the mother. And as soon as it touches the mother's heart, this beautiful love and light is coming up, back, up towards the skull, towards your heart. And it goes up through your body into your heart, through the top of the bottom of the skull, into the skull, and the heart of that love and light from the Creator is inside of it right now and inside of you. And to feel the joy, there's great joy coming through. And now, with your mind on your third eye, I want you to go into your heart center, go into your heart. Now, from your heart, the peaceful place of your heart, I want you to go into your sacred heart, which is right below your throat chakra, the sacred part of your heart. And then as from there, you want to just let yourself expand out, expand and raise up higher, going up higher and higher. And it's just like a group. We're in this group that's filled with this light and love as we go up. The world is ready and open for this higher vibration consciousness. And if you choose, I'd like you to concentrate on the energy flowing through your hands and out your fingers and your hands. And you can send that energy anywhere you feel disease, you feel war, you feel pain, and you send that love and light, and you see it change the darkness into light. And I want you, wherever you're called to go, go there now and share that light and love. It's so easy, so peaceful. Send the joy, send the light. And you feel how much the Creator loves you. And you share that love now. Just feeling the peace and love and light in the world. Okay, now I'm going to bring us back together, and I'm going to bring us back on the count of 5. 1, just let the energy flow back into your body. 2, just let it flow in and out your fingertips and toes. 3, just this is where you hold the love, and it's in your heart, and you can share it as you feel it, and it's never ending. 4, you're almost back, and 5 has been counted. And you come back now whenever you're ready. God's love. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Just realize that you're more than your physical body, and you can do or be anything that you want with your mind and your heart. The time is now. Make your reality. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
Wow, we had some. That was really, yeah. I can feel the touching of this energy. Wow.
We appreciate you leading us through the meditation. And I know folks will be able to replay this again if they want, like to be further in the meditation with the crystal skull. But we really do hope that they'll come in person to Lilydale to be in the full physical 3D, 5D
Yeah.
presence.
Yeah, that
on
will,
the Crystal Skull.
it's a special place that you have there, and we really enjoy when we're there. And I feel that it's going to be even more important in the future. So it's great, exciting time to be there. So
Well, we're grateful that you're coming, and for those of you who are wanting to know more about Bill Homann, you can definitely, I'll link the website for him in this post as well, and the ticket information so that you can go ahead and get registered, reserve your spot for the workshops with Bill Homann, and also Catherine Lanigan, his wife, who's coming to talk about the angels and also be part of the Crystal Skull presentations. I think it's great that you'll be able to help people connect in with their higher selves and again with the creator. That's something we probably should just take a couple minutes here right now and reinforce with people before we close that this is about connecting deeply with the creator, with the divine intelligence, the
yes,
source of all, and that you can definitely hold um, other sacred beliefs and also hold deep connection with
yeah,
understanding about
that's a good point, and we should make that
yeah.
because it's not like, oh, it's here and it's here. It's what it is. It's here to help all of us and make us more of what we are, and being able to find who we are and our true powers. Then you're able to, everybody searches, what am I supposed to be? Who am I? What am I here? What am I here for? That's a very simple thing, is just learning to find your joy and follow that. And as you do that, everything falls into place. And as that, the more people that come into that, the stronger humanity is, and coming back to this higher consciousness and connection with the creator that works so much through you. We work so much with the angels. The angels are always around and they're here to help. And so many times we forget to say, I need your help. And they're really wanting to help, and they just can't do it unless you ask. And so ask for the help, and it changes your life, and it's such a good thing. And we work with, Jesus comes and works with many of the things we do as we're doing our travels through time and space. And it's a beautiful thing, and having that great, because it's time for the Christ consciousness to be coming into the earth now.
Mhm.
And we need to understand and realize how much we are a part of that. That consciousness is for all of us. It's not just for one person. He's got that. No, we all have it. And it's just coming into that realization of a who and what we are. We are the you men, we're God men and God women. So enjoy it. Have fun. Yeah. And I look
That's
forward to seeing you. I get to meet you this summer.
yes, that'll be great. Thank you so much for coming on the show today, Bill. We really appreciate you sharing the meditation and sharing some of the history and the use of the crystal skull in today's time. And I encourage people to check in here in Lilydale at the end of June when Bill will be here so that you can meet the crystal skull yourself and experience that energy and really discern for yourself how this is supposed to relate to you in your particular life.
Yeah, you
And
have to
please,
listen. You can't go by a judgment. You have to listen, and it'll communicate with you. And if it resounds to what you feel, it'll be, everything will fall perfectly in place. So have fun. Yeah.
yes, excellent. Well, thank you so much, Bill. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in today. And please tune in next week for another great episode of Wednesdays with Willa. All right, everyone, blessings to you. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.